spoke about the collaboration between the judiciary and the EACC. So how effective has it been? And what are some of the areas that can be strengthened?
We've worked with them very well, because when we invited them to come and do an anti-corruption mapping and assessment of the judiciary, we opened up to them, come and look at us. They did come and they gave us a report. I chair the National Council on the Administration of Justice that brings together all the actors in the justice system, and DACC is one of the members. And DACC has every chaired the anti-corruption committee that has come up with this framework and guideline on how to fight corruption in each of the institutions. It gave us that expertise and leadership. So we work with them because no one can succeed alone. Even if we are so good as the judiciary, we wait for cases to be brought to court. People who have serious allegations of corruption to be arrested by the police, to be investigated by the CID, by the anti-corruption, to be brought to court, to be prosecuted by the DPP. For us to succeed, even in a conviction or in dealing with matters of corruption or any other crime, we have to work together. And we do not have to sabotage one another. And we do not have to undermine one another. If there are challenges in any of them, we should understand this and deal with them through the court users committees that are already established in every court station. The Anti-Corruption Court has its own very vibrant court user committee where they meet regularly and decide. Now, if you bring in matters that are not moving because you have charged somebody with 100 charges, or you are lining up of 100 witnesses so that the case scares everybody and it doesn't move, really, are we helping Kenyans? What is in the best interest of Kenyans is to see to it that this country fights corruption and does it meaningfully, brings cases to court which are prosecutable, which are backed on evidence. You cannot bring cases and then you are withdrawing them. What was the motivation of bringing the cases? These are professionals, by the way. Everybody is a professional, from the police officer to the ODPP. All of us are professionals who also have responsibility and to our profession, if not to the job that we are doing. Because at the end of the day, what kind of an officer am I if I can be arm twisted to charge somebody I'm not supposed to charge? So bring cases where you have evidence that can be prosecuted and Kenyans can see justice at the end of the day.
Thank you so much. You have spoken about the effective case management, and you rightly put it out that the Supreme Court, the Employment and Labor Relations Court, the Environmental and Lands Court, have found new strategies at managing cases and ensuring that there is a timely resolution of cases. And one of the aspects that have come to learn on is the aspect of judge-led case management. So what is the reasoning behind this approach of judge-led case management, and what has been the impact of this?
That is very profound. Actually, that is how it should be. And that was the reasoning behind the introduction of Order 11 of the civil procedure rules. You remember before, no, you may not remember, you are very young, all of you. you are maybe not even born. The courts were completely run by the advocates. who filed the cases and then came to say whether the case is ready for hearing and took a date for hearing, came to court and adjourned the matter. All right? Very few matters moved. But now we have embraced a no adjournment policy. Because if you have filed a case in court, you have filed that case so that it can be heard and determined. And if you do not want it to be heard and determined, withdraw it. If you will not withdraw it and you don't want it to proceed, then the judge will give a date for the hearing. And if you not turn up the date of the hearing, the judge will dismiss the case. Because the court is not a parking lot. You only come to court when you have a matter that you want it to be heard. But like I said in my big opening remarks on this case management, many people did not file cases so that they proceed. They threaten another party, you are annoyed, tutakutana kotini, we'll meet in court. Yeah, so when we are doing case management, we realize many of these cases are, what we call dead stock. They are not moving. So you isolate them and you deal with them. And there's a rule in our civil procedure, rules that enables you to deal with that category of cases. So this is all judge-led. The judge is the one, the judge or the magistrate, the judicial officer are the ones in charge of the court. It is their court. You run it. You give dates, and before you give dates, you have this case management conference whereby you go through the files that are ready for hearing. And when, like if you have come to the Supreme Court, we have a very active case management system where the deputy registrar convenes the case management conference, and now it's really virtual. So you just do it in your chamber. Go over it. What do you need in this matter? Have you filed your submissions? Have you filed your documents? Have you exchanged the statements? If it's like the trial court in the High Court, have you exchanged the statements? And if you tick everything, then now the matter is remaining to get a date for hearing. Then you get to the date, the judge, you're the judge, you give the date. That day now, you know what are the issues. In that case management, you have also agreed what are the issues for trial. So you focus on those issues. I'll bring so many witnesses. They have witness statements. Do they really need to stand in court and repeat this statement which is already recorded? No, we will adopt. So why should then the witness be available? Probably to be cross-examined on this point or this point. If there is no cross-examination, then you don't need that witness. That's what it means for the judge to control the proceedings, because that is the court that has been brought the dispute, and it is that court to determine the dispute. So that court should take charge of the determination of that dispute, determine it for the parties, and give the verdict to the parties. The parties, if they are not happy with that verdict, then they can go on appeal.
And just based
and I hope all of you become judges, so that you can run your own court.
I've actually been reading and listening to the Supreme Court, reading Supreme Court decisions,
yeah.
Trying to listen every day. Yes. So, based on this approach, what are some of the challenges that the judiciary is facing in implementing these judge-led courts? And based on the fact that advocates can be very rigid at times.
Yeah.
Yes.
This requires the cooperation of the lawyers, the bar, who advise also the litigants. Because there are some litigants, like I said, who will come to court to buy time. For instance, if I owe you money and you have taken me to court, and I know now I'm reaching the end of my refusal to pay because I'll be ordered by the court to pay, and I can actually delay that moment by adjourning the case, by making it impossible for that case to start, because I don't want this outcome. I already know the outcome. So we print with the lawyers, to cooperate with the court, advise people, and we are also doing it as the judiciary. If you owe somebody money, pay them. Because when you come to court, the court will not delay your failure to honor your obligation. Just pay, because then it will become more painful, because it will be more expensive, it will have cost, it will have interest, it will even have auctioneers. So just pay if you owe somebody money. Because of the very volatile nature of our people also, it is finding resistance, especially those who are holding the upper part of the stick, who have the more bargaining power in the matter. There is always the oppressed and the oppressor when they come to court. So the one who is being oppressed wants the case to go on quickly, but the one who is oppressing does not want the case to move. So it's for the court to realize, when people come, now all of you are equal, and I want to give you an equal opportunity to come at the hearing and say your case and say why you are against this, and they finish it. Yeah. But we are managing. I think the success rate is good.
Thank you.
Yeah, of the no adjournment policy. It is gaining traction. It's doing well.
Now, on this aspect of case backlog, you spoke of 3 superior courts. How are the other courts doing, especially in light of Rule 5(2)(b) of the Court of Appeal rules that seen people complaining is impeding, is actually creating a case backlog. So how are the other courts managing? Now the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and other subordinate courts.
We are really trying. In terms of the case clearance rate, like I told you, we are 99% globally as the courts. And I mentioned the courts that are exceeding the 100% case clearance rate benchmark. The magistrates courts at 98%. The Court of Appeal faces unique challenges because of the numbers. I told you the establishment is 70, and we have only 29 judges in that court. So we are trying to increase the numbers, but as I said, this has been delayed by the budgetary constraints. 5(2)(b) has been a problem since I was also in that court, because it's like every decision of the High Court and courts of equal status is appealed to the Court of Appeal. And every of that appeal comes with an application and a certificate of urgency and a Rule 5(2)(b) of the Court of Appeal rules to give a stay of the decision that has been rendered by the other superior courts. So then they are overwhelmed because they have to deal with these certificates and they have to deal with the appeals. And they are few. So I think we have to rethink whether the applications under 52B need to go through the full bench of 3 judges, or they can be heard by 1 judge, or whether, because in the stations where I worked, we were able to say, instead of dealing with the 52B, let's deal with the whole appeal. Because, that saves us time. We don't have to write a ruling, which takes time. And we can apply that time and energy to write the judgment. That way, when I worked in Nyeri and we worked in Malindi, Mombasa, we were able to convince the lawyers that we deal with the appeal itself and not the 52B. Yeah, but I think it's a big conversation that is going on in the Court of Appeal between the bar and the bench to see how best to serve the litigants.
Thank you so much for that. It was a very comprehensive answer. So, on court user committees, you said they have been instrumental in connecting and strengthen these court user committees, especially in under-resourced rural areas.
Yeah, it's a very critical tool of, I don't know what to call it. It's public participation in terms of the judiciary, because we are mandated by the Constitution to always involve people in, participating in matters that affect them. In the matters of delivery of justice, we involve people, and we involve them in the court user committees. Court user committees have taken root in every court station. Every court station has a court user committee. They are recognized as a leadership tool or system of management. I think it's a requirement that every court user committee in a court station must meet once a term. Some meet every month because they love the court, they love to support the courts, and they have formed even specialized CUCs for children. They have formed specialized CUCs for sexual and gender-based violence. They have formed specialized CUCs for the land and environment, labor, for the commercial, especially for the land. I have even a special working group for Nairobi, because Nairobi land issues are very complex. So the communities came out and said, look, these problems of double allocation is a big problem that cannot be handled by the court alone. Let us, as a community, resolve this. So I'm convinced the whole justice chain should always function when we work together, because the CUC then include the police, the Law Society, the DPP, the NGOs working in the area. So you have everybody bringing vibrancy and energy in how we can tackle the challenges we face in the judiciary. And they bring all of them. They say, our problem here is delay. So then you wonder, who is delaying? If it's in criminal cases, you zero down to the one who is delaying. Is it the investigating officer who is not bringing the witnesses? Is it the lawyers who are not turning up, especially for the pro bono, the murder cases, why they are not moving? So it's a very good mechanism that will be sustainable, because it's people-driven. People themselves love to be court users. Even when I went to the village the other day, a villager told me, I'm a member of the court user committee. and I am a mediator. I was very happy because this is a retired police officer who is feeling useful because he has to go to the court user committee meeting, and he is also a mediator. Yeah.
And now, I'll move now to academic aspects of one, you as the president of the Supreme Court, and I'll start with how instrumental has been the Kenya Judiciary Academy.
It's very pivotal to support the training of all the 7,000 employees of the judiciary. Not only just that, but even in other areas where we work together, you realize that the training will only be meaningful if it is administered to all the stakeholders. KJA is the repository of our knowledge and of our training and of executing the training. So as you know, we have been able to acquire some 55 acres of land in the outskirts of Nairobi in Ngong to establish Kenya Judiciary Academy. And we actually on course to start even the infrastructure development because KJA is an institution that has attracted a lot of attention, even regionally, in this continent of Africa. We have received so many delegations coming to benchmark on KJA. The training needs of the judiciary are unique, and they require, constant training that cannot be undertaken by any other agency but ourselves. And that mandate of the training and development is given to the Judicial Service Commission. So the KJA falls under the Judicial Service Commission. And JSC is very keen and very deliberate in supporting KJA to become an academy of excellence in training not only for Kenya but also for the region, especially in very complex matters like the ones I mentioned: counter-terrorism, serious international crimes, money laundering, even gender-based violence, which we have not been able to find a solution as a continent, including the alternative justice system, which we have realized is the only way for us to respond to the needs of our people in terms of access to justice, empowering people to know their rights and to know where to claim their rights. So we are seeing ourselves using KJA as a vehicle that is going to deliver that huge mandate of educating even Kenyans about their rights, helping us to summarize, these values in the Constitution and get everybody to know them. I like the way now Kenyans are citing their sovereign power. I think even my 5-year-old granddaughter is knowing about her sovereign power as a Kenyan. So, Kenyans need to know their rights like that, to guard them, and to know how to claim them, and to know they are agents of justice. Kenyans themselves are champions of justice. So we all have KJA because we can see they have a lot of responsibility to discharge on behalf of the JSC and the judiciary.
Thank you so much for that. Now, to a very critical aspect for you as the president of the Supreme Court. Judicial philosophy shapes the very soul of any court. And the Supreme Court sets precedents for lower courts and reflects the nation's constitutional value. So what would you describe as the current judicial philosophy guiding the Kenyan Supreme Court?
People-centered justice. That is how I can summarize it. The Supreme Court has been able to feel, touch, talk to Kenyans through their judgments. And I don't have to name them, you know them. You are a scholar, you are a researcher. Beginning with the BPI or even going further to other judgments in other areas, talk about land law, the huge problems we have had about land ownership and the trust, which I think reverberated for years in the court corridors. Oh, I don't know who is owning land in trust, who is the family. I think we've been able to sort out that problem. The BPI was a huge constitutional question of, the amendment of the constitution or review or repeal, whatever it was. And we were able to speak to the people-centric interest of the society. So I think we have been able to acquit ourselves as an apex court that can give directions, guidelines in the Moroatetu case, struggling with the discretion of the judges and magistrates to sentence an accused person. We've been able really to feel the society and respond to their aspirations.
Thank you so much for that. And the Supreme Court has dealt with contentious and transformative cases, to say the BBI case. And one of the aspects I've seen the Supreme Court do, or even the whole Supreme Court bench do, like they're going, I think Justice Ibrahim is going to be at the Kenya School of Law on the 1st of November of this month, and equally the rest of the Supreme Court judges are going to be spread out in other law schools. And I think it is something accessible, and then even we as young people get to question your philosophy, question your decision, ask questions on several issues. So how far do you intend this bar bench collaboration, the bar and academy collaboration to go on?
We want it to be sustained forever as a practice, as a culture of the Supreme Court, to have a connection with the universities, with the law schools, with the academia, because they are the consumers of our judgments and rulings. And we also have a role to play in this society to mentor, the young ones. So we are celebrating Supreme Court at 12, where we are hosting moot courts and moot competitions by young students. And those moot courts will actually be presided over by the Supreme Court. We will be the judges of the moot courts. That's a big connection, and the mentorship of the young people. It's a very, very big connection and partnership with the universities. And the lectures is also another aspect of it, of connecting with the universities and holding dialogues with the universities and the students so that we can hear from them. Also, they can interrogate our decisions and they can question us on pertinent issues arising from our philosophies and lack of it. We are doing this during the celebration of the Supreme Court at 12, but we want to duplicate it every year. We will be hosting the moot courts. We will be visiting the universities and the law schools as a Supreme Court. We will have a calendar that features when judges are visiting these institutions.
So, furthermore, in light of what you call a people-centric
Kenya judiciary that is understood and is owned by the people, that has the trust of the people, a judiciary that is accessible to the people. This is why we are emphasizing on technology, because technology helps us break a lot of barriers and bring efficiency. So that at the comfort of under the tree, when you are looking at your cattle or whatever, you're in your shamba, you can be able to see what is happening in court through your phone. And if you have a case, that phone is a tool that can give you the information about what is happening in your court case. And you don't even have to go to the formal court. Within your community, within your Nyumba Kumi, there is this ukumbi where we resolve our matters as a community. Because people now are organizing themselves in communities. Am I right? Nyumba Kumi.
Yes.
So Nyumba Kumi can have its own court. You know, a church or a mosque can also have their own establishment. Excuse me.
Of the public and stakeholders with the, when you get these expectations, there arises some practical realities and limitations. So how do you handle this expectation?
Yeah, everybody has to do their bit. And this is something that Kenyans must understand. Democracy is a value. Good governance is a value. And the court is at the tail end. It is when the systems fail that people come to court. But if these systems of democracy do not fail, then of course they would not come to court. Because the people who are holding the chain link, if they are holding it tight to support the democracy, then obviously it will remain tight, all of us. But now if you loosen your side, it will fall. And then the judiciary there at the end is left holding it alone. It can't be sustainable. Everybody must own their part of the chain link for the democracy to work. If you leave it only to the judiciary, then what are we holding? We cannot be in politics. We cannot be in the ministries, in the executive, running the ministries. The ministries must do what they are supposed to do. The legislature must do what they are supposed to do, and then leave the judiciary to do its work of resolving disputes. So if within your ministries you make sure that you do things the right way, then it means that there will be no spillover to the courts. If the legislature did its work properly, procedurally, to the expectations of the people, it means there will be no spillover, following procedures and everything. There will be no spillover to the judiciary. So my plea is like, let everybody do the right thing wherever they are. Even Kenyans. Let us become more champions of justice. And what that means is that if I want to be treated fairly and justly, then let me treat the next person fairly and justly. That way, we will not have many disputes overwhelming the courts. The court will just have to do what it has to do. But the court cannot run the whole society. We have no capacity. We can't run the ministries. We can't run the legislature because that's not our work. Our work is to determine disputes.
And finally, and that's why I had to bring my friends and colleagues and even other young people in the legal profession.
Yeah, that's advice I always give when I am admitting young lawyers, that there is absolutely no compromise to handwork and diligence and focus. First of all, you have to know yourself and know what you want with your life. And everything is possible. And I give my own example. Having grown in the rural village, really what I would call trenches of poverty, in a huge patriarchal setup of a polygamous household where we were 18 of us. But because, I was trained always to work hard, work hard. Whatever you do, whatever God puts in your hands, do the best with it. So God has been gracious to give you a profession, a legal profession. Let nobody discourage you that there are no jobs, there is no work, the profession is saturated. It is not. The last time I checked, I think we are about 25,000. 25,000 advocates for 55 million Kenyans for an economy that is, I think, over 10 trillion, because even if the tax is 3.6 trillion, that is about 30%. So the economy is much more. It will be over 10 trillion. Why would we not be able to sustain a profession of 25,000 Kenyans in our counties, in the judiciary, in the ODPP, in the ministries, in the legal practice, in our teaching universities and all that? So there is a job for you waiting. I don't know where, but somewhere in this country. But what it requires of you is resilience. Never compromise. Walk the narrow and straight. And in those admission sessions, I always have friend Ojiambo, who is the president of the Senior Bar Council, come to talk to the students. He's been in the profession for over 50 years, because even when I was being admitted myself in 1987, 37 years ago, when all of you were not born, he came to give us, a pep talk about the profession. And today, to me, it looks the same. Yeah? Still practicing, respected, well-to-do.